So I am actually pretty bummed that I have to talk about this, but it's a topic that shouldn't be swept under the rug, and it's something that unfortunately Black, brown people experience on a daily basis. And with everything that is happening right now, um, it just made more proof that I should not silence myself, diminish my experience, and that these stories should be shared because so often we get told that we're making it up or that it's not a big deal. And I spent a lot of time going back and forth about sharing this because I was really more concerned about if this got attention, how the other people feel when this is this is a time for me to be vocal and to share my experiences and thinking about myself, especially when it comes to people who are not thinking about me. And so I will just talk about what I experienced, and that is what I'm going to share. I was really excited to go to and try a restaurant in Baltimore in the Bolton Hill area, and I've been wanting to go for some time. And I will say this was a couple weeks now, so it's been some time. Have not gotten a response from them. As I walked up, it was clear that it was busy. People were standing outside. I walked in, there were 2 seats available at the bar. So initially I was going to walk right to the bar, but because it's a small location, I also assumed that maybe the bar wasn't open for just anyone open. It could be for reservations too. The hostess greeted me. I told her that I was coming in to sit at the bar. She then fumbled a bit, on her device and explained that there was a long wait and that people were waiting for both the bar and tables. I asked her how long. She said 30 to 45 minutes. I told her to put my name down. As I told her that, another gentleman walked in, Black male, who started to walk straight to the open seats, which I think is a normal thing people would do when it comes to going to sit at a bar. She stopped him, asked the same questions, told him 45 minutes. We both walked out. He would then go back to put his name on the list. So I'm outside of the establishment, outside of the door, waiting. I then witnessed another a Black or brown gentleman who walks in with a book in his hand. I assumed that he was going to be sitting at the bar solo. And I see him walk out. So I assumed that he was also told a wait time and he decided to leave. He did not return. So about 25 or more minutes into me waiting, I see there are 2 other gentlemen who walk up really close to where I was standing. There were 2 white gentlemen, and I overhear them talking about how it looks busy. They were obviously looking into the restaurant through the windows to check and see if there was anything at the bar. They even vocalized that and asked each other. They also vocalized how it looked busy and that they will likely have to wait. So then I knew that they had just walked up. They weren't on the wait list and they didn't have a reservation. I would later learn that you can't make a reservation, but I watched them walk in. I pretty much watched them like a hawk through the glass. I see them looking over to just make sure, I guess, that those seats were available. You could tell just how they were looking at the seats and leaning over. I then witnessed the same hostess, approach them. 2 seconds later, I see them walk directly to the same open seats. Now, it's a couple things I clocked. Those 2 seats were the same seats that were open when I got there. There were many couples who were standing outside, but none were ever taken to those seats, even though she said that the seats at the bar were also accounted for people who are waiting. And so I then knew exactly what had happened. I knew exactly what happened when I walked in, and I knew exactly what happened when they walked in. She comes out, she doesn't acknowledge anything, and so then I ask her directly. I tell her what I just noticed. Wait for her to respond. She clearly fumbles again and she tells me that they have a reservation. I then told them I knew they didn't, and I explained to her why I knew that was false. She then tells me that they were on the wait list. I also explained to her that they obviously spoke out loud when they were here, so I know they also weren't on the wait list. She then tells me that she must have confused them with someone else on the wait list. I then tell her, I'm sorry, but one, that doesn't make sense, because if you had, why are you not trying to rectify that issue right now? And 2, who are the other two white gentlemen who you could have confused them with, because I've been out here for over 30 minutes and there is no one. So I think right then and there, she knew where I was leaning towards. I asked to see a manager once I got seated. I was really curious about having a conversation with the gentleman. I sat down at the bar later and gently asked them at some point, did they have a reservation or were they on the wait list? They kindly told me that they didn't. They just walked straight from the house 50 minutes away and walked in and took the seats that were open at the bar. And I said, well, thank you so much. I hate that. Later I almost blamed myself. Like, am I bringing this energy where this happens to me? And I had to stop myself. And then a couple friends said, why does this always happen to you? And I really had to sit with that and recognize, like, it is happening to all of us. But what it did really, what I reflected on was like my superpower. My superpower is I'm an observant person. What I've done, me as a photographer and an artist requires me to be observant, requires me to be able to read the room and read energies. And so that's one thing that I can say is why I'm able to really clock these things, on top of my gut being a superpower. And on top of that, I'm usually traveling solo, single. And so I've learned to be hyper aware of everything going on. I'm in the conversations that are happening. I'm very aware who's walking up and who's hanging around all the time. And so it's not that it's only happening to me. I'm just able a lot of times to clock that is happening and to also gather the data that supports it. In this case, I had the data that supports exactly what had happened. That had happened to not only me, but the other couple who was waiting and got turned away and was told 45 minutes, and the other gentleman who walked away. So it's happening to us all the time, and I need people to understand this. And it is the establishment's responsibility to understand and to have protocol and trainings in place that even if you don't think you have biases or racism or racist, ideas, that there is a high likelihood that you might, and that it is direly important for you to treat everyone the exact same, because this is taking up space in my mind. And with everything going on now, this is something that I think is just really important to share. And also because so often we get told that we are making things up, or this was a misunderstanding, and then we're conditioned to ignore our gut, to ignore the data, to ignore every single time that maybe we felt it, but we didn't have anything to prove it. This is happening, and it's not okay. It's infuriating that there's been no care, acknowledgement, attention, anything that has gone into, this after I reached out to them. And I'm really sad that so many people have to experience this everywhere. But then I'm talking about another, Baltimore establishment. I really, I don't know what else to say other than I'm disappointed, and that I do think it's my responsibility to not silence myself, not make myself smaller, and to share the things that are happening to Black and brown people. So it's an unfortunate experience, and it's an unfortunate story that I'm sharing, but I think it's an important one, and really that's all that matters.